Well, hello, everyone. My name is Bethany Jett, and I'm one of the co-owners of Serious Writer, and we are doing a new series. We're calling it the Three Best Practices. And so we're going to have multiple guests come on and share the three things, well, at least three things that they would consider some of the best advice that they've either received or having been in the industry for a while, the things that they would share with somebody if they were on a train or on a bus or at a cafe, and they only had a little bit of time to kind of tell them what they needed to know to get involved in the industry. So I'm super excited to have Tina Yeager with us today, who is highly accomplished in multiple areas and has books. You running the Inspirations online devotionals, which has been going on for a while. I'm going to let you kind of tell us a little bit about that, and then we're going to jump into the three best practices that you would share.
Okay. So you want me to talk about Inspirations now or later?
Yes.
Okay. Inspirations actually started with the moment that we started Serious Writer boot camps. If you recall, that very first couple of ones, one of them was in Tampa, which is where my Word Weavers group was being hosted. And you talked about shared platform. And I thought, oh, there's so many blogs about writing and writing tips. I don't need to add to that conversation. There are a lot of really great ones out there, but what isn't being done is a devotional for writers. And that would make a great opportunity for shared platform for writers. So that's where the idea of Inspirations was born. And we are a devotional that every week on Monday, you get a brand new devotional by a different writer. And we're for writers, by writers. It helps you get inspired every Monday to anchor your writing week in scripture and get that quiet time and that meditation time with God. And it also gives you an opportunity to get publishing credit. So we do those things. And I love it because I can see people that might not otherwise want to go submit for publication. And we can kind of begin that process of helping them gently go someplace where they can feel is a safe place to submit. We do have some redirection letters that we send, not rejection letters, to help you refix it and, not refix, but fix it and rewrite it and make it so that it's more of a devotional that would gear towards writing or actually be a devotional. Because sometimes people will send mini sermons or articles, which are different genre. So we want to make sure that to follow submission guidelines. So it kind of is that first opportunity to do submissions for a lot of people.
I love that. I love the redirection letter versus the rejection letter. And then I know we could talk about this probably for 2 hours, but the nonfiction craft, there's so many different genres of nonfiction. It's not just you can write one thing, like you were saying. It wasn't a devotional when it came in, it was something else. And I like the gentle response, which is so needed.
Yes. And that's what we're for. We're to encourage writers. So we don't want to discourage you by the way that we redirect you to send it again, but do it in a format that fits the site.
I love that. So let's talk about our three best practices with our audience. Let's start with the very first one. And I've got it in front of me. So why don't you want me to share it, or do you want to share it?
Either way works for me.
All right. I will share your first one, and then I'm going to pitch it to you to tell us about it. So Tina Yeager's three best practices. Number one, direct your mindset with an effective purpose compass. Love this. Tell us about this.
Well, I used to participate in the Michael Hyatt series that he did, where he would let writers come in and he would do little trainings every week. And it was a nominal fee that you paid every month to be part of that. But he used to say, people lose their way when they lose their why. So I have made that into that phrase for today, your purpose compass. Make sure you stay focused on a purpose that's bigger than you, a greater, higher purpose, something that's beyond yourself, that will outlast you, that isn't just about making money. It's not just about getting a bigger platform for your career. It's not just about numbers. It has to be a purpose that you were created for and a people that you were meant to reach. When you know your why, then that will keep you anchored when storms arise, when things go astray, when you start to get distracted with other opportunities that are outside of what your calling is. That compass will keep you on target so you don't lose your way.
Love that. Simon Sinek has a book, Start With Why, which is fabulous. But I think we skip over it so many times when it comes to writing down a mission statement or a purpose statement. Do you recommend people do that as writers? Like, even if it's not going to be maybe a big business, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think everybody that is a creative or in business needs to have a mission statement or a branding statement. Because if you are going to provide a service or product to the public, you need to know what you're about and what you're presenting. Now, that is actually different from your overall purpose. And that can be a little bit simpler, but a little bit broader in a way. If your purpose is to uplift the lives of the broken women who have been abused on the planet, that may be your purpose. And that may be part of your brand and your vision statement, but it's not exactly the same. So you need to know what your purpose is as part of your vision and your mission statement.
Muted myself. I couldn't unmute. Okay, I think that's fabulous. All right, so let's jump into number 2 of your 3 best practices. And this one is exterminate mental pests threatening your creative growth. And then you have some examples of that. So take that away.
Okay, I think I hear this all the time. There are mindsets, and I know that that's a very trendy word and it can mean lots of things, but there are things that can really become obstacles, and they can be exterminated if you watch what you allow to take root and grow in your mind. And some of those things are related to what you think you can't do. You can do way more than you believe you can do. Let me just say that again. You can do way more than you believe you can do. In fact, a lot of research has been done on this with regards to children. Children who were not gifted were put in gifted classes and they achieved like gifted children. And that is true for adults too. We think, oh, I can't do technology. I can't do social media. I can't do on camera. That may not be your best skill set, but never say I can't when you're looking at a project or a step toward a project. Instead of saying I can't, look and see if it aligns with your purpose. That's more important than what you think you can do. You can learn if you don't put a block against learning. I learned even as a young child that one of our greatest blocks is thinking we can't understand something. So we stop listening and we tune it out. And people do that all the time. I can't do math. So when someone starts talking about math, they tune it out. Well, obviously, you're not going to be able to do math if you don't listen to the people that are talking in terms of math. So no matter what my rocket scientist son is talking about, I listen as though I understand. And I don't allow any mental blocks to get in my way. I'm not trained as a rocket scientist like he is, but I can follow what he's talking about and listen to the passions of his heart. And if we don't let those mental blocks get in the way, then we can connect with our audiences and we can do far more than we ever believed we could if we simply allow for that possibility, that potential that is inside of us. Another thing that can get us in the way, on the opposite end of shame, but also kind of related because it's very limiting, is our pride. We can get very hardened in our mindset and say that I know everything and refuse to be teachable and say, I will not do, not I cannot do, but I will not do such and such. I will not change. Be adaptable and be teachable. That's another mindset that's very toxic if you allow that to become part of you. Another one is a victim mentality, as we call it in psychology. And that's when you blame your circumstances and everyone else, and you refuse to take responsibility for healing and moving forward, a growth mindset. You want to move toward a growth mindset. Even if you've been victimized, that doesn't mean that you will necessarily adopt and die in a victim mentality state of being stuck forever, blaming everyone else. It's kind of like giving the rest of the world your remote control and saying, here, push my buttons.
Right.
Do not give away control over your well-being, the direction of your career, to your circumstances, to other people's opinions, to whatever else could give you an opportunity to have an excuse for not growing forward. Stop blaming, recognize what's been done, and do what it takes to get over it and fix it and move on. And that's another one. Another thing is humility and not thinking you have to be all that in a bag of chips all the time. That's also another thing. You want to make sure that you're authentic enough. I mean, you don't share like, what's going on with very intimate things with the whole wide world. You don't have to overshare. You don't have to tell people what kind of fungus is growing on the back of your arm. I mean, we don't need to know every detail of your life, but you do want to be authentic and share with people that I'm a human being and I've been through the things that you're going through and I can relate to you. So make yourself relatable. And also don't try to be always perfect, always on. People can learn and connect with you by you being real and authentic more than they can you trying to be that Pinterest fake person that is always on all the time. So just be authentic and be humble and be willing to lift other people up. If you are encouraging and lifting other people higher than yourself, that is a greater purpose that will lend itself toward you being a richer person than you believing that you have to be on top all the time. Trying to be on top is a fragile and insecure and scary place. If you are always lifting other people's up, if you are all other people up, if you're always being the supporter of others, that is not fragile, that is strength. So be humble enough to show love wherever you are and support and encouragement. It may not come back tit for tat that you always get back what you give out, but that shouldn't be your purpose either. You should be in the world to make the whole world and all the other people in it richer because they experienced your presence. That isn't about you being a shining light all the time, but it is about the kind of impact that you have when people are around you. And always cultivate a childlikeness. This is also another thing of mindset. Look for ways to cultivate wonder and awe. Be willing to be open to being surprised by the world around you. Always look to explore something, and that childlike sense of wonder and awe is where creativity is born. So those are some mindsets that you need to exterminate and others that you need to cultivate.
There's so much to unpack there. So I just want to take like the concept of teachability into publishing and how that works. So you're coming at it from an editor's perspective, looking at things that you want to publish through your website, through your online magazine. And I'm looking at it from an agent's perspective, and the teachability that can come through when someone submits to you, or how they respond to what you called redirection instead of rejection. There's so many ways that someone can come across as teachable and humble in their response back to you. And so my question to that is, are you really looking for that when you're getting an email back from someone? Does that kind of help dictate how much time you're going to want to put into helping this person get onto the website? Is their attitude towards the pass?
Also understand that people that are new to this process might be in a different place emotionally and mentally. So I try to remain gracious, even if the people I'm dealing with are not. And I know not everyone has the patience to do that. So I totally understand people are busy and not every editor or agent can take the time to be patient with that. I try, as someone who is on this end some of the time, to remember that I need to show grace to receive grace, because I'm not perfect either. So I may have a bad day once in a while, and I need the Lord to redirect my heart so that I don't get too big for myself and refuse someone's wisdom. But I also know that sometimes the people responding to me don't. But I could see how that can be very irritating to people who are busy. If you have to spend that extra time and their attitude is not receptive, the likelihood that a person who's extremely busy will not spend that extra time is much greater if you are having an attitude with them about it.
Yeah, and I think in this industry, because like you mentioned, so many people are coming from different places, and some writers who've been, let's say, in the querying process for a long time, they're a little more seasoned. The rejection kind of, it doesn't roll off, it rolls off their back a little
A
easier,
little
maybe.
bit.
It always stings
Yeah.
than someone who's just coming in for the first time. So I think the response we have as writers and communicators is so important, because there's a lot of anger that comes back sometimes. So when you're kind of the nice person coming back and show that teachable spirit, like you mentioned, that can really help more than I think people realize.
I think it's important, no matter where you go, not to forget that you have to be kind.
Mhm.
No matter where you get, I think the purpose of getting higher is always to be able to leverage that to lift somebody else up.
I love that. I love that so much. It's like reaching your hand back and saying, I've gotten to this level. It may not be bestseller, it may not be the high, but I can help you get to where I got
Yeah,
and keep moving
exactly.
forward. I love that. All right. So just to kind of reset, if you just joined us, we're talking about Tina Yeager's 3 best practices. She talked about directing your mindset with an effective purpose compass, which I love purpose compass as a phrase. And then we just finished talking about number 2, which is exterminating mental pests that threaten your creative growth. And then underneath of that, she unpacked teachability, humility, and then the childlike confidence and wonder, where creativity stems from. And I know you love that topic so much, about creativity. And so then number 3 for your best practices, and this one is about practicing self-care by setting priorities and guarding margins. There's a lot to unpack with that.
Yes, we could do a whole session just on that, maybe more than one, because there's a lot of things involved in self-care. But basically, I want to make sure that people understand you have to take care of what you have as your instrument. Your body and your mind are your instrument. Your heart is part of that instrument if you're a creative. So if you don't take care of it, that instrument will cease to work as well as it could. And it may cease to work altogether if you really don't take care of it. So you need to make sure that you create enough margin to take care of things that will cause chaos around you if you don't. And that includes your time spiritually, your time to think, your time to develop creative ideas, your time to sleep and rest. I have heard too many people say, I will sleep when I'm dead, which is inviting that moment to come faster, or inviting the deterioration of the quality of your life to settle in upon you so that it's not worth living. Jack London said that, and he died before he was 40. So let's not say that, please, as creatives.
Don't say
And
it.
yes, let's not. I would rather you get enough sleep and rest to allow your mind and your heart and your body to function properly. All of those things need it. Your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, every part of you needs rest. So make sure you're getting enough rest and sleep, and also take care of your family priorities. Those are things that only you can do. You set your priorities first by the things that only you can do, that you can't delegate. You cannot delegate your self-care, like taking care of your physical health and well-being. You can't delegate your spiritual well-being. You cannot delegate who you are in your family. Now, there are some responsibilities and tasks within your family that you can delegate. Somebody else can do the cooking and the cleaning. Isn't that nice? You can delegate that, but you don't have to delegate listening to your children or your husband when they're having a hard day. That's not something you can delegate. You need to be able to be there emotionally for the people in your family. That is the time that you need to set aside. And setting aside time to play bonds you with them, not just task-oriented moments. Did you get your homework done? Did you clean your room? That shouldn't be the only content of conversation with people in your family. So take care of those priorities and make sure that they come first before your career. And those things may not last. You don't know how long you will have those people in your life. So please make sure that you have nothing to regret when it comes to that time, and you don't know when it's coming, that you have to say goodbye. And that may be a permanent goodbye, but it may be a temporary, my kids are going off to college, and oh, did I spend enough time with them while they were here?
You're right.
So just be sure that you are setting those priorities properly according to the things that only you can do. And then look at what can I delegate to involve creative space for me to think and to work. And if you create margin, the good thing about margin is it allows for emergencies. If you don't have any margin, when emergencies happen, it wrecks your day.
I think that needs to just be typed into the chat, because I think that I need to do that again. So you need to create margin, because it allows for the emergencies. You're not so stressed then when they pop up. That was so good. And my son is a senior this year, and I can tell you that the days feel even shorter now that it's kind of the last. And I think too, going back to the beginning of what you're talking about with the self-care, it's so easy sometimes to think about all the responsibilities we have, and the family members and the friends and the co-workers, all the things, that it's so simple to put ourselves last, but then we're not really being able to give the best of ourselves to the people that we love so much and we want to serve too. That's so important.
Yes, we're meant to be viaducts. We drink in the blessings and we let them flow through us and we pour them out. We don't hold on to them. We don't become a swamp. We also don't try to be a dry gulch where nothing is coming in. So make sure that what you are drinking in is something that is going to nourish you and pour out of you to bless other people.
I love that. And I think that is a great way to close out the 3 best practices. And I think that is even probably a whole nother topic. It's the dry gulch, the swamp, and the viaduct. I love that. Thank you for being with us here, Tina. We're gonna in a moment, I'm gonna pop into some Q&A with our Serious Writer Club members. So any final thoughts? How can people reach you? How can they submit to you? Can you tell us more about that as we close out?
Make sure that when you're visiting for Inkspirations that you have a K in it and it's online. So inkspirationsonline.com, and the submission guidelines are there. Be sure that you follow those just like you would for any place that you submit. We do have guidelines. So we will be giving you a lovely redirection letter if you don't follow those guidelines. So to avoid that extra step, you can follow those. And you can find me at tinayeager.com, and that's Yeager. I have speaking opportunities that you can sign up for. You can do, that you can hire me for, and coaching. I do life coaching online for people anywhere in the world. And I also have a podcast, Flourishment, MEANT, how to live the life you are meant to so you can flourish. And I have a radio show on Christian Mix 106, Thursdays at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern. So go to christianmix106.com to check that out.
I love that. And you mentioned your life coaching, in your degree is in this space. Can you just real quick before we pop out, tell us a little bit more about that?
I'm a licensed mental health counselor, so I still have a current license in Florida, but I am doing life coaching because my license is in Florida and I live in North Carolina. So there could be some regulations that change with that, but I actually like life coaching. It's very growth and forward movement oriented. It's not diagnosis oriented. So that's kind of the difference between those two. And I love doing that online. 1-hour sessions are available. I do have availability in my coaching schedule for that.
Thank you for taking your time out of your day. I know how busy you are with all that you have, and we appreciate it so much. And we'll make sure we have everything linked for you in the description and the links below so that you can reach out to Tina, and then check out Inspirations online and see if you can submit. So thank you, Tina.
Thank you.